Gah, Kickstarter is one hell of a fight. Seem to either need to have money and be established to use the website successfully, or draw the lottery and have some big name see your thing and like it. And I am not a lucky man. But let's get into the review. I should start out by saying, I am not a fan of Tolkien. I know, put down your pitchforks, but I never got into his work. I've tried reading The Hobbit when I was about 10 years old, the target age range, and couldn't get far into it. I tried watching the movies and just can't finish these damn films. I'm a movie guy, and I don't care about those movies. I know, he's essentially the founder of modern fantasy tropes, but his stories, his world, even his languages, I don't care for. But with that said, let's talk about the One Ring role-playing game. Now, I essentially know the bare minimum of this world, so I can't have an opinion of this. The game does have the core book and a single expansion out, with another expansion coming in the future. The game is made by Free League Publishing, which apparently is a Swedish company. Neat, didn't expect that. Though their website confused me when I saw their currency marked as KR. Now, with in mind that I'm reading the English book, not the original Swedish language, we should be aware that translation is a stupid difficult hurdle to get for any company, especially publishing around the world. But apparently this game needs 6d6 and 2d12 in order to play, called success dice and feat dice respectively. Most situations in this game, at least the second chapter explains, are not resolved via rolls. There are essentially three things that players actually roll for. Danger, like combat or fleeing or hiding. Knowledge, which seems to be like trying to gain knowledge or read a room. Or manipulation, which seems to be more charisma-esque. This dice system seems to sort of use a dice pool, asking for you to roll one feat die with it and the equivalent number of success dice in order to hit a target number. But it also stipulates that you should only roll the feat die if the, quote, rating is 0, which I don't know what that means at this point in the book, but it doesn't have any sort of numbers or page references or anything, so I'll come across it later. There are 3 essential types of rolls to get here: skills, combat, and shadows, each resisted by another roll, which the higher one wins. I can understand these things. It doesn't rely on a single person to roll, and the target they're trying to hit can get great luck or be seriously SOL. I like this system of the ever-changing numbers of 2 conflicting rolls. It gives everyone a chance to go above and beyond or just be, well, as I stated before, SOL. The only set target number for these things are the skill rolls. Now, a few chapters down the page, it explains fate die. You can use the standard D12 for it, but they ask you to use their custom ones. Their version of fate die has the numbers 1 through 10 on them, with the last 2 numbers being a, quote, Gandalf rune, which looks like this, and the Eye of Sauron, which looks like this. The Gandalf icon is equivalent to a nat 20, while the Eye of Sauron counts as a natural 1, though in this case, lower, equaling 0 as a total number. A Gandalf always means a success, while a Sauron does not necessarily guarantee a failure. I'm okay with this lenience, honestly, but my luck is trash. Another paragraph later, we got a chapter on success dice, which is a feat to read. I had to look up the different designs but apparently they mean jack fuck all. The special look to 1, 2, and 3 being different than 4, 5, and 6, with 6 having a special icon, really doesn't mean much, though 6s apparently add a degree of success, which there's a table there. Apparently, that just means each 6 rolled allows players to choose an effect on the special table, which the core book only gives 6 options, but I imagine expansions would add more. Now, there's almost a whole page on modifiers. I've got to be honest here. This book seems to really require you to actually sit down and read through it page by page, understanding various rules. This is not an easy game to get into for this very reason, but once you start playing it, it seems like a fun storytelling game. I would recommend that your game master, which this game calls a lore master, know the setting of Tolkien, sit down and read the book. Off their website, the core rulebook only costs about $47 being 518 Swedish krona. Now, this is the first book I've seen with a table about how to roll dice. I've seen short windows that say, roll these, add this, compare to that. But this game has a 6-step procedure on what to look at and when. I'm honestly intrigued by it. I kind of want to play this. Well, not just kinda, I want to play this. Now we get into heroes, which is your character. Though instead of races, it calls them cultures, which actually makes sense given there's like 3+ subtypes of humans and half-humans just in this book. Before going into detail, this game actually gives you a step-by-step instruction on how to create a character before actually telling you anything, unlike my last review. There are 6 races, basically. Bardings, Dwarves of Durin's Folk, Elves of Lindum, Hobbits of the Shire, Men of Bree, and Rangers of the North. Each of these get a blessing, and you can choose your attributes, either predetermined ones or rolling them out with a single d6. You then determine your strength, heart, and wits target number, which is a 20 minus the appropriate attribute. So the higher your attribute, the lower you need to roll. You then figure out your, quote, derived stats, which are endurance, hope, and parry. I assume equivalent to HP, sanity, and defense. Spend your skill points and proficiency. You then choose your distinctive features, which looks like your physical or personality trait suggested by your race. Then name an age. Now, this book actually gives simple to understand explanations to each step, which is rather fantastic. Even that ranking thing I brought up a bit ago, each ranking is how many d6s you roll, 0 being only the d12, with 1 through 6 being the number of d6s. Now, we go into the races or whatever, and even these pages are set up in a great way, showing step by step in order. Characteristics are shown, giving a short explanation of each race. Cultural blessings are essentially your one ability as a race. Attributes are pretty simple system. Pick a row, trust your luck. Each are pretty simple. The derived stats are there, taking the previous attributes and adding a number. Then it goes into skills, which are auto-set, not chosen. I was wrong about that. This game looks incredibly complicated, but looking over it, it's actually insanely simple. I love how it's easy to learn this game. I am literally reading this book as I write this script, and I am understanding it without having to flip back and forth like every other tabletop game. This is fantastic. I love it. Now we get to the callings, which I originally thought were like your reason to adventure, but it seems like it's more like a simple background, giving a few extra skills to boost up to, quote, favored. The book then gives an explanation on how to increase skills and combat proficiency. At this point, the book goes into gear, which I won't touch on. Let's do the scoring, because this is already 11 minutes here. This book is intimidating to start, but once you get started, it's easy to understand. My major gripe with it has absolutely nothing to do with the game itself, but the fact that it requires knowledge of multiple books and multiple expansions on it. It's very difficult for me to get into Lord of the Rings or anything involving it, including the Lord of the Rings online game, which I can't play because I played Dungeons & Dragons online before. Thank you for that design flaw. I haven't played the game. And because I never could get into Tolkien, I likely never will. So my review is on the book alone. But honestly, I give it a 93%. The problems I have aren't with the game, but with the world itself. I could go further into races and such, but that's really not important. Now, it's been a week since I set up the Kickstarter. Please, go check it out. If you can't back it, go ahead and share it. I'm trying to set up a couple of demonstrations of the game in the Panama City, Florida area. If you're interested, keep an eye out. But I need to deal with an ulcer, so shove off.